Hey guys, welcome back to Dinner with Friends. I'm really excited for today's episode. We're making tequila espresso martinis with a little bit of a twist. I'll talk about it as we go. For an appetizer, I'm gonna make like a dairy-free broccoli cheese soup. Almost dairy-free. It's gonna have no cheese, but it'll still have some butter. Our main entree is gonna be some Greek chicken meatballs. For dessert, we're gonna do some baked apples with some ice cream. Friend Michelle is coming over, and I've known her forever. She was one of the first friends I met here in LA. She's the GM for Compass Media Network. She's also the founder of Adhara Production, works in radio. We met at the gym, and then I got her into yoga, and now she teaches yoga in LA as well. So we have a long history. Okay, so we're gonna work our way down the menu today. We're gonna start with cocktails. I'm just gonna prep what we're gonna do in the shaker, and then from there we'll have the 2 drinks in the shaker ready to go, so when she gets here they'll be ready. I told you this is gonna be a tequila espresso martini with a twist because at the kitchen I'm at, there's a vendor called Frios, and they essentially do like syrups and frozen fruit for things you can like put in a blender. They gave me some horchata beverage mix, and they gave me some café de olla syrup. So café de olla, if you don't know what it is, it's basically a big ceramic pot, I guess you can make coffee in, with a bunch of real cinnamon, and you boil it, and sugar obviously, and it's so good because it's in that ceramic pot. It just really gives it this amazing flavor. I've never had a tequila espresso martini before, but I thought if we're doing café de olla, we have to do tequila, so we're gonna do tequila, Kahlua, a little bit of this beverage mix, and a little bit of this syrup, and we're just gonna see where it goes. I'm gonna start by brewing just 1 cup of coffee. I don't have espresso, so we're just gonna have to do coffee. My coffee, I'm gonna set that aside. This is like a concentrated thing, so it's part of product with 6 parts of water. So I'm basically gonna do 1 ounce of this, and then 6 cups of water in here, and then I'm gonna mix some of the syrup too. If you don't have this stuff at home, honestly, you can just get some horchata from the store, and then just like a simple syrup if you don't have café de olla syrup. But do we know that's an ounce? We don't. We're guessing. Let's put some water in there, and then I'm gonna put about maybe half of that in there. Okay, so that is all mixed. So 1 ounce of this, we're doing 1 ounce of coffee. We're gonna do 1 ounce of Kahlua and 2 ounces of tequila. Now I'm just gonna shake it up and taste it. Wow, that's good. I think it needs more Kahlua. Make another batch and then just set it aside. Okay, I think the color of that cocktail is a little questionable, but it's really good. Moving on, let's get this broccoli soup started. I have some frozen broccoli. I'm just gonna chop up some onion, garlic, and then we're just gonna get to building it on the stovetop. I'm just gonna do half an onion. I should have diced this, but I'm really bad at dicing. I'm pretty good at making soups though. I feel like I learned how to make a soup once. I've used that same kind of like technique forever now. But it's basically just chopping up a bunch of vegetables, cooking them down, making them marinate in some type of like broth, some type of liquid, and then blending it up or letting it thicken. Okay, let's take it to the oven. So I'm starting this off with a little bit of oil and then a little bit of butter for flavor. And I know I always say dairy-free, but then still use butter. So just whenever I say dairy-free, imagine there's an asterisk by it. Like an onion. I'm just gonna let these kind of chill for a while. Okay, so that looks good. I'm gonna start adding some of this broccoli. Now these are frozen, so they are gonna let out some moisture, but I'm still gonna add some broth and some coconut milk to this. So I'm gonna add about half a cup of coconut milk, and this is full fat coconut milk, and about 2 cups of chicken broth. I'm gonna do about a 1/4 cube of this consomme, a tiny bit of salt, pepper, and nutritional yeast. So this is gonna be what's gonna give it that really beautiful color. I'm gonna say this is about a tablespoon or 2. I'm gonna taste as I go with this, because nutritional yeast can kind of give off this funky flavor. Now I have some vegan cheese I'm gonna add to this, but I just wanna wait until it's almost done. Some people put flour in their soup. You could do that. I just kind of don't really care for that, but it's all up to you. Okay, so Greek chicken meatballs. I'm gonna do ground chicken. I'm gonna build this spread. It's gonna be the Greek meatballs, cucumbers, tomatoes, some pickled onions, and then mixed greens with some quinoa. So we can kind of like build our own bowls once she's here. Just a little bit of feta. I'm gonna do some thyme and some oregano. A little salt, just because the feta is plenty salt already. Some pepper. Add some straggler onions from the soup. We're gonna bring this all together with 1 egg. Ooh, 1 hen crack. Oh, damn, I almost had it. I was almost impressive. And then a little bit of panko. Be like a 1/4 cup. And then we mix. I have my little is it Le Creuset? Le Croissant? I'm pretty sure I'm saying it wrong. Someone tell me. All right, so now we're just gonna make these into little balls. That little, like, maybe like an inch-ish or so. I feel like maybe this needs a little bit more panko though. My hands are all dirty. What do we do? Okay, I've been around enough cooks to know you always have a dry hand and a wet hand when you do stuff like this, and I messed up that rule. As I say, you guys, not as I do. This is better. There we go, just like that. These are gonna go into the oven, I don't know, probably like 20-ish minutes. Okay, I'm gonna prep our serving dish with our mixed greens, and I'll leave the meatballs, the dressing, and the pickled onions last, but I'll have this. Now, for cucumbers, I wanna do them long and kind of angled. I love a good presentation. Like, this is so soothing to me. Sometimes I wish like I could do more of this stuff with meal prep, but it's just hard because a lot of this stuff doesn't translate the same. Okay, so I'm gonna pop this in the fridge, and it's gonna be like Greek meatballs, pickled onions, tzatziki everywhere. It's gonna look amazing. Okay, so dessert. Dessert is basically going to be these baked apples. I'm gonna get this pot, it's oven safe, and I'm gonna core the apples, put them in there, and I'm just literally putting butter, brown sugar, a little bit of vanilla, and a little bit of lemon, and I'm gonna put them in the oven to bake. These are gonna be super soft, and that sauce that's gonna be at the bottom with the butter and the brown sugar is gonna make a really nice caramel to go over the ice cream at the end. I don't have an apple core quarter, is that what it's called? I'm gonna try to use a paring knife, but probably not the smartest way to go. I am notorious for freaking injuring myself in the kitchen. Bottom, now it looks like that. See how there's like a little hole? I also forgot to put a little olive oil for a base at the bottom. I'm gonna do one more apple. You know what? I'm gonna do this one diced, only because I wanna be able to kind of have apples to use as a topping. So, butter. I don't know how much this is, you guys, and you know what? It's none of our business either. Same thing with this brown butter. Okay, this is between you and God. And then a little bit of vanilla. Now this is gonna go in the oven for literally probably about 35 to 40 minutes. And it should be nice and soft before we get it out for dessert. Okay, I'm gonna go get ready, and she'll get here in about 45 minutes, so I'm excited. Say hi to the camera. I had the best time. I mean, I'm not like this massive beehive, you know, girl, but I was like, it's Beyonce, she's a legend, I wanna go.
Yeah, I like her old stuff a lot.
Sing.
I liked Renaissance, like there's a couple of songs that I like will rock out into in my car when I hear it. I'm like, great. And then sort of the rest of the album, I was like, meh. I feel like I was somewhat disappointed. Sound quality wise, couldn't hear her. So that gets like a failing grade for me. If you have 70,000 people in there to hear you sing,
yeah,
and there's a massive echo in the whole place, then what happens?
I think too, it's so shocking to me that her team wasn't collaborative. I saw a TikTok where this guy was talking about, Andrew Schultz. He's like, I went with my wife. Like, I know like 2 Taylor Swift songs. He's like, there's no way you can deny how talented this woman is. He's like, and what's crazy is that she has like the Michael Jordan of lighting, of sound, he said, of production, of dancers. And he's like, and her team was all like he was saying that he was like somewhere where he could see production moving or whatever. He's like, they were like ninjas. He's like, I'm a Swiftie for life.
Same.
He's like, and I still kind of don't know the new words to her song. He's like, but you can't not respect it.
It was a matter of like, even the production, like Beyonce, you kind of expected it was going to be all about her face, her body, her whatever, which was fine. Like, yeah. I'm all for that.
That's her brand, yeah.
It's her branding. But like, there was nothing that was like special about the branding. There was nothing, you know, and her outfits were great, and I'm not going to say anything, like, she looked amazing. But then when you look at the fact that Taylor Swift had a whole LED stage that lighted up and changed colors, and she dove into it, like, there was all these other things that happened, and so because
the entertainment value was there versus I think Beyonce was like, I'm here.
Like, it's Beyonce was like, here I am, and Taylor was like, this is a journey for everyone.
Right.
It will seem like that now because you're still in like the
like the heavy growth
infantile stage of like development and growth. But
Yeah.
at some point in time, you are going to be able to sit back and go like, okay, I have enough to like take my foot off the gas. Like,
Yeah.
not fully, right? Because you're
Right.
always going to have to be engaged in it. And I think for the people like us that aren't independently wealthy, I don't have a trust fund, I don't have anything like that. Like, there is a sense of like never having enough.
It's that fear of like,
Yeah.
it's gonna run out. It's gonna run out. It's like, or like, I almost kind of sometimes even hurry up and spend it because I'm like, it's fleeting, you know?
So I had this conversation with my mom the other day because we were talking about there's like two types of people. There are people that worry about money and then people that don't worry about money, right? I worry about money, right? I have a great job. I have a house. I have a husband. And yet I'm always like, oh, I have this extra, $300 that I didn't spend. I'm going to put it into this account and save it. And
Hoarder. You have like a hoarder mentality with money. I do too.
And what I realized after a lot of like introspective, sitting and meditating and all the other things and then going through therapy is that I grew up with a family that didn't have money, and my parents argued about money, and money was always a central theme in my life. And so my security never came from I had love, but I heard the arguments about who's going to pay the electric bill and everything else. And so for me to not know where my mortgage is going to come from the next month, or to not be prepared for 7 months down the road, is unheard of, because I saw that now my husband grew up with money. And so he's I could always make more money. And
isn't that so interesting?
It's a different world.
It's just a belief system.
Yes.
It's a belief system that we have to learn now as adults and decondition ourselves from the scarcity mindset, versus someone that's grown up with money is like, well, yeah, why wouldn't it be there? But it's literally, it feels so obvious. And I try to think about things that I'm like that with, so that I could apply the same feeling. But it's hard. It's hard because being poor is such a trauma. It's trauma. It's a physical reaction.
Well, and you're like me. In my 20s, I bartended. I worked at a job that paid me $27,000 a year. I was living by myself.
Oh, yeah.
I also was a ranger girl. And so I was the person, I had 4 or 5 jobs at all times, because none of them actually made all my bills.
Sure. Of course.
Ends meet, right?
Of course.
And so, all of a sudden now I'll be I'll go out, and like I said, I'm in my 40s and I have a good job and I've been in a contract for a long time. And so you would think having all of those things that I'd be oh, I want to buy this bag. And I go and I buy the bag, and in the moment I'm oh, great. And then I go home and I'm what did I do?
Yeah. Panic.
And Brett will say to me well, you have
You're
money.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You have a bank account.
Right.
You have this. You have a savings account.
Yeah.
You have this. You're going to be okay if you blew $500. And not that I'm making light about $500, but Michelle. And oh, by the way, I still have 3 jobs. Yeah.
It's not like you're just making it paycheck to paycheck and you're buying a $500 bag.
I still get that should I do this?
Yeah.
And so I don't know that for people like you and I who grew up without that ever changes.
And I think that's what I needed to hear, because then I shouldn't uproot my whole fucking business that I've struggled so hard to build. No. Because if I start another thing, it's going to be the same thing. Or it's the struggle never ends. It just moves over to a different thing, because you have to start over. I feel like people paid for their MBA, or they paid for it in just fuck ups in life, and I think maybe I'm just paying for it in fuck ups in life.
Anyone who's done had their own business, started their own business, has made money problems.
Yeah. There's no perfect there's no perfect business. That's also what I learned too. When you get to meet all these other entrepreneurs, which I've met, there's so many other people. It's I'm complaining about a measly little 10 grand here, whatever. There's people that are oh yeah, well, I have we got a Target order and we had to balance $250,000 in the last 3 months and they haven't paid us yet. And I'm just excuse me? I couldn't even dream of that.
So I'll tell you, one of my big business mistakes was at Hara, my company, We supply telecom to radio broadcasts in all the stadiums. I get a quote from Verizon, and it's a good number. And I'm like, okay. And so Verizon quotes me this number, and I do all of my calculations on this number that Verizon gives me. And let's make it up. The number is $30,000, right? A month. Yep. Another company that's going to actually manage the network for me, and they give me a quote. Right. Now, their quote, I know, is going to be per month for 6 months and whatever.
Yeah.
So taking those two numbers, I put it all together. I divide it up by the teams, and I go, this is how much money each team needs to pay me in order for me to be profitable, for me to stay in business.
Right.
I mean, for me to make like a little bit of money managing and doing all this other stuff after
so
paying
you're not
taxes,
working for free. Sure.
Right. Well, multiple emails back and forth to Verizon, and I said to them, so all in, this is what's going to cost me because I'm going to go back to the NFL teams. Yes, all in. And then I get my first bill from them, and it's $10,000 more a month than they told me it was going to be. So now, let's just say, again, around about 10,000. So we're talking about an additional $120,000 a year that I didn't
a lot for.
And so I call them, and I'm like, hey, what's this number here? And they go, oh, well, that's the government taxes and fees. And I was like,
we said all in.
We said all in. And they go, yeah, but we don't ever account for that. So then I had this moment of like, oh my God, what am I going to do? It was a business that would start very quickly. I got so mad at them because I was like, we've had this conversation multiple times.
Yeah.
All in.
Yeah.
I got lawyers involved.
Yeah.
And they had to rearrange their agreement with me because it did, I had it in writing. Hey, all in,
right.
It's going to be this.
Right.
And, they kept saying to me, yeah, but we never actually said with taxes. And I'm like, doesn't that mean all in? Costly mistake that I didn't build in enough cushion protection. Mm-hmm. I thought I did, right? To like what I was charging every
Yeah,
time.
sure.
And so any profit I was going to make got eaten up.
Right.
So super costly mistake. And super sort of embarrassing to kind of go back. And then at that point I had signed contracts with 30 NFL teams. So I couldn't go back to them and be like,
actually,
hey guys, I need you to spend more money. And so that was a mistake I had to eat.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, would I have learned that in business school? No.
Pretty.
I love it.